A movie is really a series of contracts that come to life. When other people go to the movies, they see the characters and the actions and they listen to the story and they hear the plot and all of those things. When I go to a movie, I see thousands of contracts that it takes to make a film. Producing a film has a life cycle, and it starts long before principal photography. The first stage of a film life cycle is actually the development period. During the development period is when you come up with the idea for the project, when you secure the rights for the underlying project, if you're getting the rights to a book or a pre-existing character or IP. It's when you identify your team. It's when you raise the money. So the development piece could start years before you do principal photography. It can take 7 years or more to get into production. Because development includes so many different aspects of the production process, I'm going to break it down for you into the different pieces because they are very different, and the attorney that handles development may not be the same attorney that handles production. They are different. The development cycle is going to include your financials. You're raising money. How are you raising the money? Are you getting it from investors? Are you getting it from grantors? Are you going to use a fiscal sponsor that will allow you to go out and raise money from nonprofits or get charitable donations? In some cases, a fiscal sponsor is a great option for a documentary film, but it can also be a great option for a narrative project, depending on your project. If you're raising money from individuals, are you raising it as equity? Or are you just going to go on Kickstarter, which I know is not a just, because raising money on Kickstarter is very hard and it's a lot of work and it's actually pretty expensive to do because you have to satisfy all of the promises you make. But if you're raising money on Kickstarter, those are just gifts that people are giving you. People can give you up to $15,000 a year as a non-taxable gift. And that's essentially what you're getting on an Indiegogo or Kickstarter, because they might get a small little thing in return for their donation, but they're really just giving you money to make the film and you don't have to report back to them. But if you're going to raise money where you're going to pay people back, then that's equity, or worse, a loan. But let's focus on equity for a second. When you raise money from investors where they're going to get a return on their investment based on how much money the film makes, that's an equity investment. And those are subject to a myriad of federal and state laws that you have to comply with or be exposed to criminal liability or civil liability, and often both. And so raising money is not something that you should take lightly, and you really need an experienced member of your legal team and accounting team to help in the process to make sure you do it correctly based on the way you're raising money. Another aspect that you're going to take care of during development is getting the property that you want to produce, because a film without words hasn't been really done in a long time. And now it's a novelty, a silent film. And that's not really what you want. You want a script, and you got to have a story to tell. Even with a silent film, you have a story to tell. So you have to acquire that story. Did you write the script? You might have written the script, and that's great. But you may not be a writer. You may be a producer, and you need to go out and find that script. In fact, you may have a story you want to acquire from a magazine article that you read, or a book that you read, or even a TV show or other film that you've seen that you think you could tell better or differently. And during development is when you're going to go and get those rights. And the way we acquire those rights, very similar to acquiring real estate, You can lease those rights with a basically lease to own and do an option agreement where you have the terms written out that if you get the financing, you get to buy the underlying property. Or it could be a shopping agreement where you go to someone and say, hey, I want to see if I can go out and raise money, and I'm going to get a shopping agreement that gives me the limited rights that I need in order to do that. But in both cases, you have the right to take it out and shop. You should not shop a project that you don't have the rights to shop, because that could create a situation that when a producer says, oh my gosh, that's the best story I've ever heard, let's get this deal done. And then you have to go, oops, I have to go and ask permission for it. And that causes a delay that you just don't want to have. So during development, you will either do an option agreement or a shopping agreement. And in some cases, you may acquire some rights on an acquisition basis where you actually will own it, but that's highly unusual unless you're a well-established studio and production company that has unlimited funds.